Rent prices are finally starting to fall after a steep and punishing climb after the end of pandemic lockdowns. It's according to one listing agency's monthly report. CBC's Nisha Patel has the details.
Stephanie Gunn jumped at the chance to move to a new rental apartment.
Looking at prices, they'd really come down over the past couple months.
Now she's living closer to downtown Toronto, and her monthly rent is $700 cheaper.
I hate moving, but it was a really good decision. And even in paying for movers to move here, it's still a significant savings. Over a year, it's huge.
Average rent in Canada has dropped for the first time in 3 years, down 1.2% for all property types. There were steeper declines in big cities. One-bedroom rentals in Toronto and Vancouver sank about 9%. Calgary and Montreal fell more than 4%.
So we have kind of peaked out on the capacity of consumer to pay.
Experts say demand has declined as the federal government changes immigration policy, and there's more supply available.
We have actually seen across the country a very significant increase in rental construction.
But as people searching for affordable housing move to smaller cities, rents in those markets are still spiking. Last month, apartment rents in Saskatchewan jumped 17%.
We've talked to some not-for-profit housing providers across Saskatoon. They have wait lists in the hundreds because they're offering rents that are affordable and subsidized.
Tenants advocates say despite this slight moderation, prices have escalated too much, too quickly since the pandemic.
You're still going to see people scrambling. You're going to see, 3 people living in a one bedroom, one of them on the couch.
He says rents will need to fall much further for many to feel relief. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, these latest numbers may come as relief to many renters, but our next guest says it may be a little too early to celebrate. Tom Davidoff is the director of the UBC Centre for Urban Economics and Real Estate. He joins us tonight from Vancouver. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What do you think about this drop and how significant is it?
Well, it's only one data point, but it's consistent with what I have been hearing and with what I imagine we'll hear from CMHC's more complete data come springtime, and that is rents are slowing down, and that is very likely because of reduced student and temporary workers from overseas, as well as a slowing economy.
Let's touch on what Nisha talked a little bit about there in her item, and that's smaller markets, because this decline really is concentrated in urban centers in Ontario and British Columbia. What does it mean for rural areas?
That's right. As you say, Toronto and Vancouver have seen a lot of apartment completions. And the small town issue may be because ever since COVID, people have been finding ways to work from home. I don't know if that will continue. But if it's expensive to live in Vancouver and Toronto, it kind of has to be expensive and inconvenient to live anywhere, or else people will move elsewhere.
So looking out to the next 6 months or so, do you think that this is a trend that we are going to see continue? And what factors into whether or not it does continue or not?
Yeah, I think we'll continue to see housing completions. The current downturn due to high interest rates means we'll see less apartment completion in coming years, but we won't see that impact yet, I don't think. Continued slowdown in immigration, also now fewer permanent residents allowed each year. Furthermore, as interest rates fall, we should see more people able to enter the home ownership market. And when more people can exit the rental market to buy, that should push down rents as well.
So a lot of people rent from landlords that have condos perhaps and that are dealing with mortgages. So if we are going to see continued cuts from the Bank of Canada when it comes to interest rates and for those mortgages, do you think that that will then be passed on to renters?
That should mostly be second order. It is true that when rates are lower, you get more construction. And today, the high interest rates are impeding construction, but we won't see that impact for a couple of years when today's lack of housing starts feeds into lower completions. We're still seeing completions from when times were good.
Do you think that we need to see more rental properties that are solely rental properties as opposed to kind of these mixed condos and things like that?
No, that I strongly disagree with. I think the important thing is that homes get built, and we need more roofs over people's heads. Some people can't afford market rents. Some people can't afford home ownership. The answer there is income transfers to households in the most need.
Yeah, I was out in BC a while back doing a story for Marketplace, actually, on the housing crisis in this country. And one thing that BC is doing is co-ops. I wonder what you think about that idea when it comes to housing, the idea of co-ops.
Yeah, again, not a huge fan of having government tell builders what type of home to build. If co-ops work for people, great. There are problems in their operation. I think condos and purpose-built rentals work just fine as roofs over heads. And again, if there's an affordability problem, don't turn the home builder into a social welfare agency. Maybe you ask them for money and use that to finance income transfers, again, geared to the lowest income people, because the key reason is you can't afford to house the lowest income households in brand new buildings. It makes much more sense to provide income support and let them use that to rent or possibly buy more affordable homes, which tend to be older.
So if you were giving advice to the government here in terms of really how to make rental housing truly affordable in this country, what would that advice be?
Well, I think what they've done is great on the supply side, twofold. Two things that I like that the government has done. Number one is providing low-cost loans to people who build rental housing. I think that might, if anything, have been too generous. The other thing that didn't cost a nickel is twisting the arms of municipalities and provinces and telling them they're not going to get infrastructure funding unless they change their evil ways on land use and stop banning apartments and mandating single-family homes.
Okay, Tom, we got to leave it there. Appreciate your time as always. That is Tom Davidoff, the director of the UBC Centre for Urban Economics and Real Estate, joining us from Vancouver.